You've had a podcast now for nearly 10 years. I saw that announcement.
In 2 weeks, it'll be my 10-year anniversary.
That's insane. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a history and
Thank you.
legacy of service. And like, how many interviews now is that?
Over almost 1,400 episodes.
That's insane, right?
Yeah.
1,400 episodes over 10 years. Unbelievable legacy. You wrote your first book, The School of Greatness. Your second book, Mask of Masculinity.
Yep.
On the release of that book was when we became friends.
Yeah, the day it came out, I went on your show at NASDAQ.
At NASDAQ, yeah.
In New York City. I just started hearing about you maybe a few months before, and then you'd reached out, and I saw a couple of your videos, and I was like, I really like your style. And when we met, I was like, let's just hang out all day.
I know. It was amazing. I didn't expect that because I was doing, so for anyone who doesn't know, I used to have a show on NASDAQ Reads, which was called Follow the Reader. And I would try and sit down with authors and talk to them. And I was thankful enough, that's where I met Ryan Holiday, and it's where I met a couple of other people in the space. And I'd reached out to you because I'd always loved your work. And usually an author would come in, you'd do the interview, you'd promote the book, and then they'd leave. And this was the day your book came out. And you were like, well, why don't we just spend the whole day together? So we're in a coffee shop together.
Amazing,
we're in a Barnes & Noble together.
So fun.
And that was the beginning of our friendship.
It was amazing, man.
And now we're here on another book launch day. And 5 years to write a book, like 5 years to be thinking about a book, 5 years to not, it's so easy to just put, for you, like with an amazing audience, amazing community, you could just put out a book whenever you wanted to.
Right.
What were you working on? What were you thinking about for 5 years?
I wanted to do this after the Mask of Masculinity. And this was the thing that I was like, this is the thing that I wish I would have had when I was, 15, 21, 35, the book and the content that I wish I could have had to understand the pain that I was going through. And now having been through a lot of different healing journeys and healing a lot of different wounds that I had from my past, I finally felt like I was at a place of peace where I could create abundantly as opposed to forcing something. And when I wanted to start this 5 years ago, which I've been kind of researching and taking notes and having documents for a long time in my interviews about this, I had the content, but I didn't feel like I was at a place where I felt like I was a good coach to myself. I felt like I was still critical of a lot of things and still beating myself up emotionally and mentally. And I didn't feel like I would be authentic in putting the content out until I was healing at a level of authenticity internally.
Wow.
So after 2 years ago, I felt like I finally kind of had a tipping point for a portion of my life that I was struggling with my entire life. 10 years ago, I started opening up about healing sexual abuse and that type of trauma.
Yeah.
And that set me on a journey of healing for the next 5 years, many different things from my childhood, from parent stuff, things like that. And it allowed me to evolve as a human, be more courageous, have more authenticity, all that stuff. Be less triggered, less reactional, all that stuff. But I still kept repeating certain patterns in relationships. And you've seen me in 3 different relationships now since I've met you.
Yeah.
And you probably were able to witness a pattern from the previous 2. It's so hard to see the things until it gets really, really bad sometimes. When things are good and when things are not so good, it's hard to see it. It's not until things get really challenging or some big breakdown when we start to wake up. And it was the last relationship where I was like, man, I keep repeating the patterns of something based on a wound. I keep choosing, I keep staying, I keep putting myself in these challenging situations that I don't feel like I need to. But I hadn't yet unlocked what that was. Whether I was afraid to face it or just not aware of it yet, I hadn't fully embraced that healing journey. And so I started down a very intensive, coaching therapy experience where I was doing 5, 6, 7 hour weekend days on weekends every week, working with a coach to figure out what is holding me back. Why do I have this pain in my heart? Why do I feel like there's something like choking me on a consistent basis? Why do I feel like I can't catch my breath sometimes? When on the outside, I've got things going well for me. It's like I'm able to accomplish things. I can create my goals and make them happen. I'm building a business, all these things. I'm functional in a high level, but internally, I didn't have harmony.
Wow.
I was kind of at the stage, and we would talk about it all the time. I was like, dude, why am I struggling with this so much? Why am I going through this? And I was kind of at a stage where I was just like, I've got to figure out this part of my life in intimate relationships because energetically, it's holding me back from friendships, family, creating my work, my mission, my health. It's draining. It's pulling from me. And that's why I always loved being single, because when I was single, I felt free. But when I was in intimacy, I felt like I was trapped. So I had to go down the journey of really healing a lot of the different emotional wounds from childhood that put me in the programming of feeling trapped and feeling really like I had to abandon myself for someone to love me. And so I never truly loved my authentic self because I never felt like someone else would love me for who I truly was and truly accepted who I was. So that was just my personal journey, where other people might struggle in trying to figure out how to get clear on their purpose or their mission or how to make money or how to get in shape. That wasn't my problem. My challenge was intimacy, trusting myself, and being 100% authentic and courageous in intimacy and not changing who I was to please someone else. But the need to please others who I loved and who loved me was a big wound, and it caused a lot of pain.
Yeah, it's so powerful hearing you say that, because I feel like it's not worth becoming someone you don't know to please someone you think you love.
One person, yeah.
Yeah, you just become someone you don't recognize. You become someone who you don't know, you don't understand, just to hope that that person will see that person.
And accept you.
Yeah. And
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yeah, you're always performing, you're playing a role.
You're giving in, you're abandoning yourself. It's mentally, emotionally, physically draining.
But what I love about all of that results in you being able to be creative. Like, you start removing all those blocks internally. It results in a book, and a book, as we know, is like a lifetime's worth of work put into pages to help people find their greatness in their own lives.